The Shadow Gate war nobody could remember exactly when Earth went silent. The last message from the Galactic Council came 10 years ago, some tired warning about Earth, refusing to give up their weapons. It was just empty threats wrapped in official paperwork. Everyone in the outer space colonies laughed about it. Earth was dying anyway, with poisoned oceans and countries fighting each other. It seemed like nothing more than a broken planet full of ruins and old stories. They were completely wrong. I realized this the moment the signal came through. I was working on the Kessel Drift, a salvage ship floating just outside the dead zone of Sector 19. That's where the rift opened up. It wasn't a normal space tunnel or jump gate. This was something solid, with dark edges and shadows bleeding from its curved frame like it had been cut from space itself. At first, I thought our sensors were broken. Maybe it was just heat distortion or interference from the sun. Then the ships came through. They were silent, sharp, and blacker than empty space. No markings. No identification signals, just pure presence. I counted 27 ships before our system crashed and we lost contact with our relay drone. The others on my crew stared at me, waiting for answers I didn't have. But I knew what it was. I had heard the stories back when I still lived on Earth before I escaped. They called it the Shadow Gate back then. It was just one of those drunk stories told by washed-up Earth veterans in orbital bars. The gate was real, they would say, hidden deep in Antarctica under miles of steel and ice. They claimed it was Earth's final defense system, built during their darkest days when the world governments knew the rest of the galaxy would eventually come for them. Nobody believed these stories. Why would we? Earth could barely keep its satellites working. The idea that they could build something powerful enough to hide an entire fleet seemed impossible. But impossible things have teeth. The fleet that came through that gate wasn't just real. It was ready. They didn't send out greeting messages or offer peace talks. They scattered the Council patrol ships like dust. A massive warship the size of a small moon tore through the advance guard, without even losing shield power. And leading them all was a ship that shouldn't have existed. The Lucifer Protocol. Its name was burned into old military records as decommissioned, dismantled, and banned after the Mercury Rebellion. They said it was a myth, a ghost ship designed to destroy entire planets. I saw it with my own eyes, dragging a moon behind it like a trophy. The worst part was that I recognized the man standing at the front of its bridge. His face was older and more hardened, but I knew it like my own reflection. Commander Reic, my father. He had disappeared 20 years ago. Official reports said he died during a secret mission gone wrong on Titan. But I remembered his last words to me. Never trust the silence, son. Earth is only quiet when it's loading the gun. He was right. Earth hadn't gone dark because it was dead. It went dark to prepare. While the galaxy argued about ethics and treaties, Earth dug in, built weapons, trained in secret, and created monsters like the Lucifer Protocol. Now they weren't just back. They were claiming revenge. The fleet didn't broadcast warnings. It sent one message, short and sharp, burned into every frequency within range. We remember the war you forgot. The Shadow Gate is open. We are returning. What was promised? The message wasn't for the aliens. It was for us, the humans who had abandoned Earth, who bought into the galactic dream of peace and progress, who laughed at our home world's decline and sided with species who once tried to destroy our continents. Now we were traitors in their eyes. I stared out into the black as the last of Earth's hidden ships emerged from the gate. Each one was more monstrous than the last. My crew was silent. They knew what I knew. This wasn't a rescue. It was a reckoning. My name is Tren Marorrow. I was born in the eastern fringe slums, raised on food rations and half-truths. My father, Commander Reic, disappeared when I was 13. My mother died 2 years later from synthetic drugs that corporations dumped into the black markets. After that, I bounced between mining rigs and pirate dens until I eventually found myself piloting junk ships across broken territories. I hated Earth for what it had become. But as I stood frozen on the bridge of the Kessel Drift, staring at the storm of vengeance pouring through the Shadow Gate, I realized Earth hadn't become anything. It had always been like this, quiet, waiting, and violently strategic. Tren, Brick said, breaking my trance. What do we do? My crew wasn't built for war. We were scavengers, smugglers at best. On our best day, we could outrun a small patrol ship if we dumped cargo and hit the boosters hard enough. But this was a fleet forged in secrecy, hidden behind an ancient gate that shouldn't have existed. Each ship was a floating monument to human rage. I don't know, I muttered. Maybe we don't do anything. Don't do anything. Mara snapped. They just wiped out a council frigate group into minutes. That gate wasn't supposed to open, and those ships weren't supposed to exist. We can't just sit here. Brix was already sweating. He was younger than me by a decade, still thought he could outrun problems in space. Poor bastard didn't understand that sometimes the void swallows everything, especially truth. They're not firing at us, I said, watching the patterns of their ships, precise, mechanical, terrifying in their discipline. They're not even acknowledging us. They know we're here, Mara said. Of course they do, I replied. But they're not after us. Not yet. She leaned in. You know something, don't you? I didn't answer, because yes, I did know something. 20 years ago, Earth fought a war nobody likes to talk about. Not because it was secret, but because it was shameful. The official record called it the compliance conflict. The Council claimed Earth refused to meet bioethical standards, refused to dismantle certain weapons programs, refused to open its genetic archives for inspection. Sanctions were placed. Earth retaliated by going dark, cutting off all galactic traffic, disappearing behind encrypted defense satellites. The Council sent fleets to force compliance. None of those fleets ever returned. Then Earth went quiet. Quiet for too long. Everyone believed Earth had finally collapsed under its own weight: climate failure, social riots, and resource depletion. It was an easy lie to accept, and so the galaxy moved on. But in the silence, Earth did not die. It evolved, and someone, my father, had helped them do it. 3 hours later, the fleet was gone. Just vanished, slipped into the void in formation. No explanation, no further contact, like ghosts returning to their graves. But the signal they sent was still bouncing through the deep channels, and it was enough. Panic spread like fire. Every major outpost near Sector 19 went into lockdown. Civilian ships were grounded. Trade routes were changed. Fleet commands issued silent mobilizations without admitting anything publicly, because admitting the truth meant acknowledging a failure no species could afford. Humanity had outwitted the galaxy again. I was back in my quarters when the second message came, not from the fleet, but from a private encrypted channel I hadn't seen active in 20 years. It pulsed once, then again. Old Earth coding, legacy military structure, call sign Raven. I froze. That was his call sign, my father. The message came with no voice. Just a pulse-coded directive, beacon active. Initiate protocol V. My hands trembled as I accessed the terminal and decrypted the file. What loaded wasn't data, it was coordinates. Deep space, far off the maps, near a system we used to call Lazarus Drift. A no-man's zone with no trade routes, no active systems, just floating debris and long-dead communication buoys. Attached was a simple phrase: they will come for you. Make a choice, Earth remembers its sons. What is that? Brix asked from behind me. Nothing, I lied, shutting the file. Mara pushed forward. It's not nothing. Your face just went pale. I turned to them slowly. It's a summons. From them, she asked. I nodded. You're insane if you're thinking about it, she said, crossing her arms. You think the Council will let you walk after making contact with them. You think they won't burn us all for even hearing that message. Maybe, I said, standing up. But if I don't go, I'm a traitor to both sides. She grabbed my arm. You don't owe that planet anything. It gave up on us. No, I said quietly. We gave up on it. I left the room without another word. We set course. That night, I didn't tell them the real reason I was going. I didn't tell them about the day I found my father's encoded diary after he vanished. I didn't tell them he had planned all of this. Not the war, not the gate, but the survival and the vengeance. He wrote about Project Umbra, a failsafe designed to hide Earth's true defense capabilities behind a global collapse narrative. They let the world rot on the surface, while the real Earth buried itself deep underground, under oceans, inside tectonic fault lines and cryovaults orbiting black hole moons. While the galaxy mourned Earth's failure, it was building an empire of silence. And now it was done hiding. Lazarus Drift was colder than I remembered. I landed on a derelict station marked by Earth's old military crest, long since outlawed. Declared defunct, the symbol still stood, the Earth ringed with shattered chains. The inside of the station was dead. No lights, no warmth, just frost-covered panels and rusting steel. I moved through it alone. My crew had refused to follow. I didn't blame them. Near the center of the station, the beacon glowed red. I stepped into the room, and there he was. Older, grayer, but it was him, my father. Tren, he said, like it had only been a few weeks. You came. I didn't answer right away. My throat was too tight. He stepped forward. We don't have much time. What the hell is this? I finally asked. What have you done? He looked around slowly, like taking in the silence of his sins. What I had to, he said. What your mother wanted us to do. What Earth needed. You lied to everyone. No, he said, voice sharp. They lied. We kept a secret. There's a difference. He walked toward the terminal and activated a panel. A holographic map lit up. Systems, fleet deployments, covert installations. It was a web of military strategy that stretched across half the known galaxy. Project Umbra was never about survival, I said slowly. It was about revenge. Not revenge. He replied. Correction. I felt my stomach twist. You're going to start a war. He turned and stared me dead in the eyes. Son, we're already in it. We've always been in it. The war never ended. It just got quieter. He told me everything. How Earth's fall was orchestrated by internal traitors, humans who sold out for alien technology, political favor, corporate power. How the Council planned to sterilize Earth's next generation through DNA regulation disguised as aid. How Earth's leaders have faked their own collapse to escape control. And how the Shadow Gate was the final test, a message to all of them that Earth remembers and Earth fights. He offered me a place in the new order. Not peace, power. You have a choice, he said. You can stay out here and be hunted. Or you can come home. I looked at him, my mind torn between fury and awe. You disappeared. I said. You left me. I saved you, he replied. Out there, you weren't a threat. Out there, you could live. I couldn't take the risk that they'd find out who you were. I shook my head. This isn't salvation. It's madness. No, he said, eyes cold. This is justice. I left the station at dawn's cycle. I didn't tell him my decision. He didn't ask. But as the Kessel Drift pulled away from Lazarus Drift, I saw the stars begin to shift. Earth's fleet was moving again. Not toward the Council, not toward alien systems, but toward the colonies, the ones full of exiled humans, the ones who had forgotten their blood, their birthplace, their duty. We weren't just exiles now. We were targets, and I knew that I had two choices: warn them, or watch humanity burn itself alive from both ends. The truth sat on my chest like a weight I couldn't throw off. My father was alive. Earth's secret fleet was real. And now they were coming for us. Those of us who left Earth behind. Those of us who bent the knee to the Council. Those of us who believed we could run from our past. Back on the Kessel Drift, I stared at the flickering holographic map of fleet movements pulled from the decrypted data. He fed me. The red arcs across the outer colonies weren't suggestions. They were strike vectors. Predicted impacts. Kill zones. Earth wasn't aiming at the aliens first. They were going after the traitors first. Still think you're going to keep this quiet? Mara said from behind me. Her voice was cold. Controlled. She wasn't the kind of woman who panicked. She calculated. That's what made her dangerous. And that's what made her right. I looked up. You saw it. We all did. Bricks broke the encryption on the secondary feed while you were gone. We didn't need your permission. Wasn't planning to hide it, I muttered, knowing I probably would have. Bricks stood near the cockpit, pale and frozen. They're not just targeting military stations, Tren. They're targeting civilian colonies. Human outposts, ones we've done trade with, ones we've lived in. I know. They're going to slaughter them. I know. Silence settled like ash across the bridge. Even the usual hum of the ship felt muted, like the Kessel Drift knew what was coming. So, what now? Mara asked. I didn't answer right away, because the truth was, I didn't know. I didn't know if I was supposed to warn the colonies, warn the Council, run, fight, or bury my head and pretend the truth didn't claw at every inch of my soul. That was my father out there leading the fleet. The man I had mourned, the man I had hated, the man I had respected, and now he was the architect of a genocide. We docked at a fringe station in orbit above Calisfor, a quiet little mining rock, where Earth-born humans made up about 60% of the population. The rest were mixed bloods and Council-registered migrants. It wasn't much, but it was independent. No full Council protection. No heavy artillery, which meant it was a soft target. I didn't even have time to step off the ramp before station security flagged us. 2 armed guards in Council uniforms, and a third in civilian gear with sharp eyes and skin like baked leather. I recognized him. Commander Reic. Used to serve under my father back in the Mercury Rebellion. I thought he died years ago. He didn't smile when he saw me, just stared. Tren Marorrow, he said. Didn't think I'd see your face again. Didn't think I'd live long enough to show it, I replied. We shook hands like soldiers do, gripped tight, no warmth. You know why I'm here, I said. He nodded and motioned for me to follow. Inside the war room, Reic pulled up orbital surveillance footage. The system was already jittery, communications jammed on 3 frequencies, local satellites fried with pinpoint precision, and long-range scans picking up movement near the Cooper edge. They were close. They haven't fired yet, Reic said. They're waiting, I replied. They want the first blood to mean something. Any idea what the hell they're doing, Marorrow? I stared at the footage for a long time. They're not just destroying colonies. I said finally, they're cleansing the bloodline. Reic turned his head slowly. Unsure he heard me right. They're not after aliens. Not yet. Not Council warships or military command. They're targeting humans who left Earth, anyone who accepted Council tech, anyone who rejected Project Umbra, anyone who betrayed the cause. Jesus, Mara whispered behind me. They're resetting history, I continued. They want Earth to be pure, untainted, alone, and they'll kill every last one of us to do it. We tried to evacuate the colony. Really, we did. Callus Ivy didn't have much. No real defense grid, no heavy ships. The transports were old mining vessels, barely capable of faster-than-light travel. We had maybe a few thousand people we could move. Another 10,000 had no chance, families, kids, the elderly. People who still clung to the idea that Earth was just a story told to scare the next generation. Then the power cut out station-wide. No warning, just darkness, emergency lights. Flickered on a second later. But by then it was already too late. The first strike had begun. From orbit, a single tungsten rod, non-nuclear, pure kinetic energy, fell from one of Earth's stealth destroyers and slammed into the outer rim of Callus's habitat ring. No fire, no energy beam, no flashy space weapons. Just gravity and metal. A weapon we'd forgotten how to fear. 2,000 people died in the first impact. The second rod hit the water plant, then the fuel silos, then the transport bay. They weren't targeting resistance. They were targeting hope. We scrambled. I barely made it back to the Kessel Drift with Mara and Brix before the atmosphere alarm started. Screaming. Reic stayed behind, covering the evacuation. He said we had to survive. Said the story had to be told. I watched his final moments from orbit. He stood at the docking bay with a plasma rifle and a pack of grenades. When the enemy boarding party landed, black armor, Earthborn crest, no insignias, he pulled the pin on every grenade at once and walked into them like a ghost. The blast took out half the squad, and then Callus burned from orbit. It looked like hell vomiting itself into space. 3 days later, we limped into the outer sectors. Half fuel, radiation leaking from the rear panel, Brix coughing blood from exposure. I sent the message. I encoded everything we saw, everything we had, fleet vectors, tech analysis, personnel IDs, tactics, projections. I sent it to every council relay that would still accept a non-military tag. It was the only way I could live with myself. But I knew what that meant. I just declared war on my own father, on my homeworld. And now Earth would be coming for me too. The council responded 2 days later, not with gratitude, but with suspicion. Their reply came from a council enforcer cruiser called Vigilant Echo, a formal voice, cold, robotic, not even human. You are in violation of interstellar code for 7A, spreading destabilizing military information. Dock with Vigilant Echo for interrogation and containment. Failure to comply will result in lethal engagement. Mara stood behind me on the bridge. They're going to kill us. Yeah, I said. I figured. Then why the hell did you send the message? Because someone had to know. She looked at me for a long time, then turned to the navigation console. How far can we jump? Maybe to light sectors if we're lucky. She glanced at the council ship closing in. Then we'd better be lucky. We ran. They chased. Council ships were fast, clean, and precise. Earth's ships were brutal, old school, and terrifying. And us. We were held together with duct tape and prayer. But somehow we made it, just barely. The Kessel Drift jumped right as the Vigilant Echo locked weapons. We re-emerged near a forgotten communications relay, abandoned after the Omega riots. And there we found them. Not Earth ships, but exiles. Humans like us. Refugees. Survivors. Soldiers who saw what Earth had become and chose the void instead. Their ships were old, but their spirits weren't. They pulled us in, fed us, asked us what we saw. And when I told them, they didn't cry. They smiled because now they had a name. A name to curse, a name to fight. A traitor-born son who turned his back on Earth and sounded the alarm. My name. I don't sleep anymore. Every time I close my eyes, I see Callus Ivy burning. I see my father's face, proud, bitter, unyielding. I hear the message again. We remember the war you forgot. And I know this war isn't about species. It's about identity. Earth is coming. And now so are we. They call themselves the Broken Line. That's what the exiles had named their fleet. Not a title, not a rank, just a brutal, bitter truth. They were the broken line in Earth's history. The jagged scar of humanity that had chosen survival over allegiance, reason over loyalty. And we're now hunted like animals because of it. I sat inside their flagship, the Warden's dagger, staring out a porthole that hadn't been cleaned in decades. The stars out here looked different, colder, less forgiving. They say you knew it was coming. So the man next to me. I didn't turn to look. I didn't know everything. But yeah, I had the warning. He nodded. You sent the signal. You got people's attention. That counts for something. Not for the ones on Callus 4. No, he agreed. Not for them. His name was Karen. No rank. Just a name. Most of the exiles didn't use titles anymore. They didn't believe in military order the way Earth's fleet did. To them, that kind of hierarchy had led to betrayal and death. But Karen was respected. When he spoke, others listened. I fought under your father once, he said after a while. Back before the gate. I tensed but said nothing. He was sharp, cold, calculated, but brilliant. He made people believe in Earth again when Earth had nothing left. You should have seen the bastards back then. Council dogs dropping warheads. Policing Earth's own citizens, stripping minerals like they own the soil. I remember enough, I muttered. He was a hero once. He's a butcher now. Karen didn't argue. Just sipped from a metal flask and passed it to me. I took a swig. It burned all the way down. Tasted like fire and regret. The broken line had more ships than I expected. None of them new, none clean. They were Frankenstein hulks of salvaged Earth tech, black market engines, and alien retrofits barely holding together. But they had firepower and people, thousands of them. Humans who didn't fit into the Council's clean utopia or Earth's millinant purity. Outcast. I walked through their hangars past engineers welding with handheld sparks, kids running between cargo crates with scrap-laid toys, medics stitching up, burn victims on blood-stained stretchers. This wasn't a rebellion. It was a last stand waiting to happen. In the command room, Karen pulled up star charts and data streams. The main Earth fleet split in 3, he said, each one headed toward different colony sectors. I looked at the maps. Where's the Lucifer Protocol? Still off-grid, but we intercepted a burst-coded Earth language transmission, military designation. We think it's headed toward the Helix corridor. I felt my jaw tighten. There are over 1 million people spread through those systems. I know. He glanced at me. We can't stop them, Tren. Not conventionally. Then how? Karen didn't hesitate. We bleed them. Sabotage their supply lines, attack their communication relays, make them afraid of the dark again. You think Earth's afraid of anything? I think your father is. That hit me harder than I expected. He's not afraid of death, I said quietly. He's afraid of irrelevance. Karen nodded. Then we give him what he fears. The Broken Line put together a strike team that night. 6 ships, all small fast. Cloaked with stolen tech. Target, Relay Station E9 in the Heron Belt. An Earth-commandeered communications hub used to route fleet orders. We weren't aiming to destroy it, that would be too loud. We were going to poison it, slip false data into the network, confuse fleet movements, delay strikes. If we were lucky, we could save 2 or 3 colonies just by making the armadas hesitate. I volunteered to lead the assault. Not because I was the best fighter, not because I owed anyone, but because I was sick of running from my own name. We launched just after 0 hour. The belt was dense, chunks of ancient station debris, old war wrecks, frozen rock, and salvaged minefields that hadn't been mapped in decades. Perfect cover. The Earth station sat like a spider in the center, its sleek black hull coiled around. A spinning communications tower, signals humming like the heartbeat of a sleeping beast. We approached in silence, thrusters off, letting the drift carry us. Inside our dropship, Mara checked her rifle for the 5th time. She hadn't said a word to me since Callus. You sure you want to be here? I asked. I want to kill the people who burn children alive, she replied. Fair enough. Brix was quiet, too. His hands shook as he loaded his sidearm. I'm not a soldier, he mumbled. None of us are, I said. We're just the ones left, he nodded. Guess that makes us dangerous. We boarded the relay station using a decompression trick we stole from old pirate manuals. Slow-motion silent breach, high-pressure drill, no alarms. The Earth guards were well-trained. Clean armor, laser-focused, but not expecting it inside. Job. We moved through them like ghost. Mara's rifle barked twice, to headshots, no screams. Brix handled the door overrides. We flooded the system with viral code while Karen's tech teamed back on the Warden's dagger. Patched in from orbit. In 6 minutes, the entire relay structure was contaminated. Their data was corrupted but still looked normal. That was the beauty of it. Earth's fleet wouldn't know they were flying into ambush zones until their engines were lighting up debris fields. We were pulling the same trick my father used on the Council decades ago. We were using Earth's playbook against itself. and it felt damn good. We extracted clean, no alarms, no casualties. Until he showed up. As we drifted away from the station, cloaked and silent, a shadow passed over. U.S.? Massive, silent, star-splitting in size, the Lucifer Protocol. I didn't need sensors to confirm it. I felt that ship in my bones like a monster sniffing the air for blood. My breath stopped. My heart pounded against my ribs like it wanted out of my chest. Inside the cockpit, Bricks whispered, "That's not a ship. That's a goddamn floating executioner." And he was right. The Lucifer Protocol was more than a dreadnought. It was a mobile war platform armed with systems banned by every interstellar treaty ever written. Things no one had ever seen used in combat, because the last time it fired, an entire moon was erased. We powered down completely. Not a single watt of energy. The drift took us right past her hull. So close I could see the reflection of our ship in her gunmetal skin. She didn't fire. She didn't need to. The message was clear. They knew we were there, and they let us go. Back on the Wardens. Dagger. Karen met us in the hangar bay with clenched fists and bloodshot eyes. "You saw it." I nodded. "She's here." He rubbed his temples. "We're out of time." I leaned on the edge of the ship, sweat still clinging to my neck. "How much damage did we do?" Karen glanced at his data pad. "Enough. Two fleets are stalled. One colony managed to evacuate in time. The others, we'll see." "Not enough," Mara said flatly. "No," I admitted. "But we made a dent." He turned to me, jaw tight. "You know what has to happen now, don't you?" I did, because sabotage wouldn't stop. This war, not anymore. We needed something louder, something permanent. We needed to take down the Lucifer Protocol, and that meant facing my father face to face. No more hiding. No one said it out loud, but we all knew the mission was suicide. You don't just take down a warship like the Lucifer Protocol. You don't even get close to it unless it wants you to. It isn't a ship. It's a floating monument to control, to finality, Earth's symbol that the age of compromise is over. But it had one weakness. My father was still on board. "You sure you're ready for this?" Karen asked, arms crossed, jaw tight. "No," I said. "Good. Means you'll be careful." We stood around the holographic map as his team mapped a path toward the Helix Corridor. Earth's fleet was concentrating there, multiple colonies, trade lanes, and a high number of defectors. They weren't just hitting targets for military gain. They were making examples. "Lucifer is operating with 2 escorts," Karen continued, pointing. "A battleship and a stealth-class cruiser. Our strike team will handle the cruiser. The battleship stays distracted by a decoy squadron. And me?" I asked. "You, Mara, and Bricks are getting inside the beast." "Once we're in it," I said, "you lose contact." He nodded grimly. "We know. But if you can disable even one of its command cores, the rest of the resistance can rally. That ship isn't just a gun. It's a symbol. If it falls, Earth bleeds." "You're not just going to face an enemy in there," Karen said, looking at me hard. "You're going to face a man you still call father." "That's not strategy, Marorrow. That's personal." "I know," I said quietly. "Then make sure it doesn't get you killed." The infiltration ship we used was small, black, and faster than anything we had a right to be flying. Modified with a cloaking rig stripped from an alien relic. It was practically invisible so long as we didn't power up our weapons. We entered the Lucifer's engagement zone from beneath a gravity well. Used an old asteroid field as cover. Their sensors wouldn't pick up anything moving that slowly or that cold. It took us 5 hours to drift into range. 5 hours of silence. Bricks kept fidgeting with his helmet. Mara just stared at the black hole of the dreadnought through the viewport. I felt sick. Not from fear, not even from the pressure of knowing we might die, but from the memory of that voice. "You can come home, son." He said that to me as if home was something that still existed, as if the Earth he wanted me to return to wasn't the same Earth vaporizing children on Callus for, as if blood could erase fire. We reached the docking shaft beneath Lucifer's tertiary wing. The access point was abandoned, probably to deepen the hole for regular patrols. That was our opening. We breached inside. The ship felt alive. Not warm, not organic, but aware. The corridors were to clean. The silence was to perfect. Every corner was security smooth. Lighting flickered, not because it was faulty, but because someone wanted us to feel watched. Mara took point, rifle raised. Bricks carried the tech pack. I moved in between, counting paces. No alarms, no contact. They knew we were here, and they were letting us in. The first sign of resistance came at Deck 17. A single guard, Earthborn, standard black armor. He didn't draw his weapon. He just stood there. I raised mine. "Move." He didn't. Mara stepped forward. her tone ice cold. This isn't a negotiation. Still nothing. Then he spoke. The commander said if you came, we should let you through. That you come to understand. I stared at him. And if we don't, he smiled. Then he said you die here, but that you die free. Mara dropped him with a single shot. No hesitation, no drama. We kept moving. The core of the ship was deeper than expected, protected by a maze of corridors and motion-sense blast doors. Every hallway felt like a trap. But the strange thing, no one came, not one firefight, not one squad. Either the Lucifer was empty, or it was something worse. We finally reached the heart of the ship, the obsidian spire, a tower that housed command, AI weapons control, and tactical navigation. Mars started slicing the terminal. Bricks pulled up the data grid, hacking into subroutines. Then the voice came over the speakers. You shouldn't have come, Tren. My father's voice, calm, even, like nothing had changed. You always had too much of your mother in you. I clenched my fists. You're murdering civilians, refugees, people who just wanted to live, people who forgot what it meant to be human. I didn't forget. No, he said. You betrayed it. The lights dimmed. Then he spoke again, only this time it wasn't over the communications. It was behind me. He stood in the doorway like a ghost wearing iron, black armor, red trim, no insignia. His eyes were older, deeper, not angry, not even bitter, just resolved. You don't have to do this, I said. He walked in slowly, as if every step carried the weight of a dying world. I never stopped doing it, he said. You just stopped understanding. You think this is honor, slaughtering human colonies, killing kids, who never even saw Earth. He nodded once. They were already dead the day they chose the council. Mara raised her rifle. Don't, I said. He looked at her calmly. You think I didn't know who you were, Mara Vedrix? I knew your father. He begged for peace, died when they didn't give it. You think they'll give you peace? She hesitated. For a second, her hands even trembled. But then Bricks did something none of us expected. He hit the trigger. The charge detonated in a wall panel near the main terminal. Sparks flew. Systems shut down. Lights died. Everything turned to chaos. And, in the middle of it all, my father rushed forward. I didn't remember pulling the knife. But it was in my hand. And then it was in his armor, right under the rib. He grunted, not in pain, just disappointment. I train you better than that, he whispered. You train me to see the world for what it is, I said. And it's bleeding because of you. He staggered. Back. Mara opened fire. One shot to the shoulder, another to the leg. He dropped, didn't cry out. Just knelt there, blood dripping from his armor like he was praying. You can stop this, I said. Shut it down. Call the fleet off. He looked up. At me? No, he said softly. Because if I do, we die for nothing. Then he tapped his wrist console. A countdown appeared on the nearest screen. 0 hours for minutes and 59 seconds. I froze. What the hell did you do? He smiled. I'm giving you the chance to be the man I couldn't. Then he passed out. Bricks screamed. The reactor's going to blow this whole section. Maybe the whole ship. Mara ran to the panel. We've got for minutes. We can either kill the countdown or escape. I stood there staring at my father, bleeding, unconscious or dead. I couldn't tell. Tren, Brick shouted. We need you. I snapped. Out of it, ran to the console, started scanning. The failsafe was locked into a biometric key. My father's. No way to bypass it unless. Help me, I said. Mara and Bricks pulled him up, dragging his body across the floor as I forced his hand against the scanner. Access granted. Cancel self-destruct. My finger hovered over the button, but then I stopped, because canceling it meant letting the Lucifer Protocol live. And if this ship survived, the war wouldn't end. It would never end. I stared down at the screen, and my father's blood on the console. At the ship that killed Callus IV, that killed Reic, that killed everything Earth was supposed to stand for. And I made a choice. I didn't cancel it. I just delayed it to minutes, long enough to escape. We ran like hell. The corridors lit up with red strobes as alarms screamed in all directions. The ship tried to shut us in. Bulkheads slammed shut behind us. Gravity tilted. We sprinted through chaos, dragging my father's limp body with us. Back to the breach point, back to our escape ship. We barely made it. As we detached, the Lucifer Protocol started to crack. Its outer hull glowed red. Internal explosions rippled through its frame, and then it collapsed. No sound, just light. A silent funeral pyre in space. I stared at the wreckage. Through the viewport, my fists clenched, my throat dry. He's still alive, Mara said, nodding at my father's body strapped to the medical bench. Yeah, Bricks looked at me. What now? I didn't know. All I knew was this. Earth would never forget this betrayal. And now neither would I. We were hailed as heroes, but the word tasted like ash in my mouth. The destruction of the Lucifer Protocol shook the galaxy. Colonies lit up with hope. Council officials who once called us exiles began using the word resistance. Even some of the neutral systems started transmitting coded praise. Across Black channels, anonymous, cautious, but undeniable, for the first time in decades, Earth had bled. And it was because of us. Because of me. We docked back at the Broken Line's hidden outpost in the Osiris Shroud, an asteroid belt surrounded by radioactive interference, strong enough to keep Earth sensors blind. We were barely out of the ship. Before the flood of attention came, Karen met us on the deck, a rare look of something like relief softening his worn features. You did it, he said. No, I replied, stepping down the ramp with Mara beside me. We survived it. Behind us, Bricks helped medics lift my father's limp body onto a stretcher. He was still breathing. Barely. His armor cracked, his blood dried to his skin. But he wasn't dead, and part of me hated that. Are you planning to interrogate him? I asked. Karen narrowed his eyes. We were going to space his corpse, but now the entire movement wants him alive. They want answers. He won't talk. Karen shrugged. Then we'll make sure the whole damn galaxy watches him refuse. 3 days passed, and each one made me feel more like a liar. The Lucifer Protocol wasn't just a ship. It was the symbol, the crown jewel of Earth's dominance campaign. They believed it was invincible, an unstoppable god machine that would keep their enemies afraid to breathe wrong. And I had destroyed it. I thought maybe that would end things. I was wrong. Earth didn't break, it howled. The first retaliation strike came faster than anyone expected. A precision orbital bombardment on New Typhon, a civilian colony sympathetic to the resistance. No warning, no demand for surrender. 3 million people gone in under 5 minutes. No survivors. The Council blamed us. Called our destruction of the Lucifer an escalation of rogue aggression. They didn't want to fight Earth. They wanted to appease it. And just like that, the same bastards who abandoned Earth in its time of need were bending the knee to it. Now some colonies even started broadcasting allegiance oaths to the Earth fleet, declaring loyalty, disowning the resistance they called. US terrorists, traitors, said we were dragging the rest of humanity into a war it never asked for. It was happening again. Earth had always known this would be the result. They planned for it. That's why they made the Lucifer Protocol a martyr. Before we ever boarded it, my father had known we'd strike. He let us win. And now Earth had a license to kill. He woke on the 4th day. I was alone in the medical bay, sitting in the dark, watching his chest rise and fall. When his eyes opened, there was no panic, no confusion, just silence. You should have killed me, he whispered. I tried, I said. But you're too stubborn to die. He chuckled softly, then coughed blood. You think this is a victory? He asked. All you did was light the fuse. Now Earth burns hotter. Earth is burning everything. There's no line anymore. No rules. There were never rules, Tren. There were only stories to keep the weak compliant. I stood. You're going to answer for what you've done. Publicly. He looked at me with something between pity and disgust. You think your little resistance can win. You think the Council will help you. The same Council that mined Earth's oceans and sterilized our children? You don't have allies. You have leeches. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I left the medical bay and sealed the door behind me. Let him rot in his own righteousness. Karen's War Council convened later that day. The room was packed with officers, captains, old mercenaries, and a few former Council defectors. Everyone looked angry, exhausted, and desperate. They should have. We were running out of time. We can't match them ship for ship, Karen said, pacing near the holographic map. Every time we sabotage a fleet, they glass 3 more colonies. We're bleeding support. Someone growled. We promise protection, not provocation. They're scared, Mara cut in. That means they can still be moved, but not with speeches. We need another hit. Karen looked at me. Suggestions. I didn't hesitate. Shadowgate. The entire room went silent. One of the captains spat. That's suicide. Not if we collapse it, I said. Earth's entire covert fleet moves through it. It's how. They bypass Council scans. They've made it their lifeline. You want to go back to Earth? Karen asked. Back home? I nodded. If we destroy the Shadowgate, we cut off their supply lines. Their fleet becomes scattered. Slower, dumber. We even the field. And if they see us coming, I swallowed. Then we make sure we don't get seen. The plan was madness. Infiltrate the frozen waste of Antarctica, where the original Shadowgate control hub was located. hack the system, detonate a viral bomb that would corrupt the core routing algorithms, and collapse the gate's internal structure. If it worked, the fleet would be stranded, their stealth routes gone, their advantage obliterated. But to do it, we'd need to walk back into the one place I swore I'd never return, Earth. We dropped into low orbit under cover of magnetic storms. The ship was stripped of ID, masked with tech from 3 different alien races. We flew blind, fast, and low. The southern continent was worse than I remembered. The oceans were higher, the skies darker, and the land, it wasn't even land anymore. Just black steel, frozen dust, and towers built like teeth. Mara landed us 10 kilometers from the gate facility. That gave us one shot to go in silent and stay invisible. We moved through the ruins of old cities, places where I used to play as a child, now buried beneath layers of Earth's new order. Bricks led the way, hacking our path through sensor nets. Mara kept rear guard. I carried the virus bomb on my back. We didn't speak. We didn't have to. The mission didn't need words, only we'll dot at the ridgeline above the gate complex. We finally saw it in full. A circular structure the size of a mountain, humming with dark energy. Ringed by towers and guarded by legions of black armored soldiers, the Shadow Gate. Every pulse of its core shook the ground. It wasn't just a machine. It was Earth's beating heart, and I was going to stab it. We snuck through maintenance tunnels using codes I remembered from my father's decrypted archive. Outdated, but still functional. Once inside the inner ring, we planted the charge at the data spire right above the quantum stabilizer. That kept the gate balanced. You sure this will work? Mara asked. No, I said. But nothing else has. Bricks armed the bomb. Then the alarms went off. They knew we were here. Of course they did. We never had a chance to escape, but we didn't plan to. I grabbed the detonator and looked at Mara. She looked back and nodded. Then I hit the switch. The world lit up. The Shadow Gate screamed as its core collapsed inward, folding gravity in on itself like a star choking on its own pride. The blast ripped the sky open, and for one perfect second I felt peace, because I had broken Earth's greatest weapon. I don't know how I survived. They say a resistance team pulled me out of the crater. Mara didn't make it. Brix's body was never found, but the gate was gone, and the fleet was scattered, confused. Earth's grip loosened. For the first time, they bled in the dark. I sat in a medical bay weeks later, wrapped in bandages, staring at the stars. Karen visited me. No words, just a firm hand on my shoulder. They're calling you a legend, he finally said. I'm no legend. I muttered. Maybe not, he said. But you lit the spark. I didn't reply. I just kept staring at the stars, because somewhere out there, Earth was still alive. And so was my father. They didn't speak of her death. Mara's name was etched into the memory wall of the Warden's dagger alongside hundreds of others. Lost since the war began. Karen said there would be a ceremony, a broadcast, some symbolic tribute. But I told him no. She wouldn't have wanted a speech. She would have wanted vengeance, cold, direct, and merciless. And so I gave her that instead, 2 days after I could walk again. I took command of a strike cruiser and led an ambush on the Earth outpost near Theta 8. We destroyed their food transports, crippled their stealth tech factories, and left behind a message written in the ash of their command tower for Callus, for Mara, for the Forgotten. And for a while, that was enough. Until Earth responded. It came in the form of a broadcast. Wideband, unfiltered, routed through ancient military channels. No encryption, just brutal old-school propaganda cut clean and sharp, made for maximum effect. My father appeared on the screen, alive, healed, standing tall in full dress uniform beneath Earth's new battle standard. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He just talked. To those who believe you've crippled Earth, you misunderstand what Earth is. You've destroyed weapons. You've broken gates. But Earth isn't steel, Earth is will. We will not fade into silence. We will not kneel to compromise. Humanity belongs to Earth, and you are the rot we cut out. Then the feed changed. It showed a colony, Haven Reach, population 112,000. Mostly Earth-born refugees who rejected both sides, families, survivors. And then it showed Earth's response, a full orbital melt. No energy weapons, just solar mirrors. They reflected the system's star directly into the atmosphere until the oceans boiled and the surface ignited. We watched in silence. It took 14 minutes for the colony to die. And the worst part, the broadcast never cut away. I don't remember punching the wall, but I remember the pain in my knuckles afterward. I should have finished him, I muttered. I should have pulled the trigger when I had him on the floor. Karen didn't argue. We all should have. What's left now? I asked. We've hit every stealth route, crippled their networks, burned their ships. He looked at me, tired. eyes heavier than I'd ever seen. They're not relying on systems anymore, he said. They're relying on fear. And it was working. The colonies were fracturing. Some tried to evacuate toward council space. Others were surrendering, pleading for Earth's forgiveness. One even executed its own resistance members and broadcast the footage as a peace offering. They still burned. Because Earth didn't want peace, it wanted obedience. 3 nights later, I sat alone in the communications room. My hands hovered over the console. I stared at the blinking light of a secure, untraceable line. It led to one place, back to Earth, back to him. I don't know what I expected. Maybe silence. Maybe another warning. But the screen flickered on almost immediately. He was waiting, son, he said, as calm as if we'd spoken yesterday. I was wondering how long it would take. You killed them, I said. You killed children. He didn't deny it. I showed them what this war is. Not a game, not a broadcast. Truth. No. I growled. It's murder. He leaned forward. Do you think the galaxy gave Earth anything but murder? Do you think the sterilization programs, the economic blockades, the media blackouts, do you think any of that was peace? He let the silence hang for a moment, then added, You're old enough now. Old enough to understand that peace is just war delayed by paperwork. I wanted to scream. Instead, I asked the only question that mattered. What's it going to take to end this? His eyes darkened. You? I blinked. What? You, he repeated. Your surrender, your execution. Public, televised. You, the Resistance's golden boy, the traitor's son, admitting you were wrong. Let the galaxy see Earth's justice. Let them feel it. And you'll stop the killings for a time. I laughed bitterly. You don't want peace, old man. You want a show. I want order, he replied. And you're either the example or the excuse. The screen cut to black. I didn't tell the others about the call, not at first. But the idea wouldn't leave me. What if I surrendered? Would it save anyone? Would it buy the Resistance enough time to regroup, to hit Earth somewhere they still hurt? Or would it all just end with my blood in the dirt? Karen called the council the next morning. Most of the commanders argued for a mass retreat. Others suggested attacking the outer rim of Earth's final weapon cache deep near the Borealis cluster. No one had a plan that didn't involve more bodies, more fire, more death. Until I spoke. I'll turn myself in. The room froze. Karen's face went cold. No. They want me, I said. Let them have me. They'll execute you. You know that. Yes, and maybe that'll slow them down. Mara's death still haunted me. Callous for Haven Reach. I couldn't carry their faces anymore. But if my face could stop the next massacre, then maybe it was worth it. No one else dies, I said. Not for me. Karen slammed his fist on the table. You think they'll stop with you? You think your father will just pack up the war and go home? This isn't strategy, Tren. It's a goddamn death cult. I looked at him, calm, steady. Then let me be the ghost they're haunted by. The plan was simple. I'd board an unarmed civilian transport, fly it into the Earth fleet under a diplomatic flag, broadcast my surrender. But I wasn't going alone. Inside my body, embedded behind a false rib, was a dormant nanovirus. One built by a defector scientist. Months ago. Experimental, unstable, and highly illegal. It couldn't kill my father. But it could infect the ship's AI. Slowly, quietly. It would burn through their network like rot beneath paint. Give the Resistance a chance. One last shot. A ghost revenge. As I prepared to leave, Brick stopped me in the corridor. He didn't say anything at first. Just stared at me like he had back on Callus when the bombs fell. Then he handed me something. Mara's dog tags. She believed in you, he said. I nodded. She still does, I replied. Then I boarded the ship alone and flew back to the planet I once called home. The atmosphere burned red as I descended toward Earth. No escort, no weapons. Just a civilian shuttle marked with peace signals and a beacon tied to my surrender. I was alone. Karen's voice had haunted me before launch. You step into that fleet, Tren. You don't come back. I knew. But this was never about coming back. The capital ship Judgment Dawn sat in low orbit, massive and merciless. Its towers stretched like obsidian thorns into the clouds. The docking clamps took my ship before I even requested clearance. They were waiting. The docking bay opened with military precision. Rows of Earth soldiers lined the deck in perfect formation, black armor, silver trim, faces cold. At the center of it all stood my father, General Reic, alive, iron-backed, wearing medals he never earned and authority he stole from the dead. Tren, he said, voice unshaken. Welcome home. I didn't speak, just stepped forward and dropped to my knees. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was theater, and I played my part. I was paraded through the ship's interior in shackles. Cameras recorded every moment. Broadcast ran through every frequency. The Council, the colonies, the resistance. Everyone saw me kneel. I was Earth's captive now. Their trophy, the man who killed the Lucifer Protocol, now chained and bleeding beneath their boots. They brought me to a chamber more like a cathedral than a court. Pillars of light, walls of chrome, and a single platform with a restraint chair. In the center, there would be no trial, no statements, just execution broadcast to every system that still had breath left, to show them what happened to those who defied Earth. As the guards strapped me down, I could feel the virus behind my ribs, humming. The nanids were already transmitting, spreading like a whisper through the ship's local systems. Small and visible, just enough. The virus wasn't meant to destroy the ship. It was meant to corrupt the code of loyalty. Earth's new systems weren't just military. They were ideological. Is that enforced compliance, biochips that filtered language and thought. Every soldier aboard the ship was being constantly reinforced with stimulus loops and brainwave control systems. What I gave them wasn't a bomb. It was doubt, and Earth couldn't survive doubt. My father entered the chamber last. He wore a ceremonial sword on his hip and a high-collar uniform that looked older than I was. The crowd fell into perfect stillness. This, he began, pointing to me, is the face of betrayal. His voice echoed through every communication system in orbit. He turned his back on his people. He aided in the destruction of Earth's fleet. He led a rebellion that has cost us millions. The words rolled over me like smoke. He is not a martyr. My father said. He is not a hero. He is a lesson. He turned to me. 2 final words. I looked up, blood in my mouth, wrist bound, chest barely rising, and I whispered, "It's already happening." He frowned. "You didn't win," I said. "You just built the cage better." Then the lights flickered, just for a second. A beat of silence. Then another flicker. My father's expression tightened. He gestured to the techs, whispered commands, the execution. Feed stalled briefly, then resumed. But it was enough. The virus wasn't. The feed wasn't just broadcasting my death. It was broadcasting Earth's rot, every protocol violation, every war crime, every mind control sequence, every lie across the galaxy. He drew the ceremonial blade, raised it high, then hesitated. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. I saw it first. In the eyes of the soldier to my left, just a flicker, a shake in the hands. Then the one on my right, blinking rapidly, jaw trembling. The virus had reached them. Not their flesh, their faith. The conditioning was cracking. Soldiers started looking at one another, whispers, palms twitching, blades lowering. And then someone shouted, "Is this justice?" My father turned, furious. "Who said that?" Another voice. "Why didn't we try him? Where was the court?" He surrendered. He saved colonies. He saved children. One by one, the soldiers began to step back. The illusion was breaking. Not with fire, with truth. My father turned back to me. His eyes weren't cold now. They were desperate. "You did this," he hissed. "No," I said. "You did. You just gave me the match." He raised the sword again, and this time he didn't hesitate. But it never landed. A rifle cracked. The blade spun from his hand. A soldier had shot him in the arm. Blood sprayed. Gasps followed. Then chaos. The chamber descended into shouting. Soldiers argued, shoved, disarmed one another. The broadcast went wild. Half the systems rerouting the viral leak, others being disabled manually. And me? I sat there, still shackled, still breathing, watching the empire my father built eat itself from the inside. It didn't end clean. Nothing ever does. Eventually, I was dragged out by soldiers who didn't know what to believe anymore. Some wanted to protect me. Others still wanted me dead. I was locked in a cell deep in the brig while Earth systems collapsed into internal rebellion. The virus didn't end the war, but it fractured the core. Whole fleets went dark. Networks turned rogue. Earth soldiers refused kill orders. Some executed their own commanders. Civil wars ignited within the war machine. The resistance didn't win, but Earth lost control. And that was enough. Karen's forces extracted me 6 days later. He looked at me like I was already a ghost. "You shouldn't be alive," he said. "Maybe I'm not." He didn't laugh. "Earth's not finished," he warned. "They'll rebuild eventually." I know. I looked up at the stars, blinking through the burn in my eyes. But now they bleed like the rest of us. They say I'm a symbol now. The boy who betrayed Earth. The man who cracked its chains. But I'm no hero. I just lit a match. The ones who burned for it, they're the real story. Mara, Brix, Reic, the children on Calisfor. The nameless millions. They paid the price. I just made it count. The war didn't end that day. But something else did: the silence, the fear, the belief that Earth was untouchable. Now the galaxy knows Earth will never kneel again. And even if I die tomorrow, chained to a wall or shot in some dark corner, they'll remember my name. Because when Earth came with fire, I bled first, and I never bowed.